Only two. How are you?
Good, how are you? He's, photo bombing, isn't that what it's called? What you been doing, Brian? I was going to a baseball game tomorrow, but it looks like it's gonna rain.
Oh, down at Clemson?
Yeah, they're playing.
They play.
Did
you watch them last night?
did you watch them?
Got picked up.
Did they really?
In basketball.
Oh, yeah. Well, Parnell's they use the same psychologist that the football team. I've been there twice. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That's hit a drop.
This year didn't pan out too well.
I'm worried about.
Yeah, we've got some weather coming in.
We'll see.
I think we're ready. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Highlands Town Board of Commissioners for March the 16th. I would remind everyone to speak into the microphone tonight because we are broadcasting this by way of YouTube, and we're trying to improve on the quality of that broadcast. We've set up a podium, if you will notice, over near our staff, and if we ask them a question, they'll come up using a microphone and answer the question. With that said, I would invite you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Now, will you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 3 on the agenda is the statement of conflict of interest. I just call that a statement to the attention of board members who are participating in this meeting. And the next item will be number 4, the public comment period. If anyone would like to come and make a public comment, we'll open the floor for you. We would appreciate you stating your name and holding your comments to around 3 minutes. So do we have anyone who would like to make a public comment tonight? Hearing none, let's move on to the next item, which will be to review and approve the agenda. Do we have any additions to the agenda that's been presented? Mr. Haynes.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to talk about the $205,000 that was recommended to start the design on the water plant. I'd like to add that as an agenda item.
Okay.
Financial matters, or where you want to put?
I think we should put that under financial matters, item number 17. Okay. Do I have a motion that we approve the agenda as amended by Commissioner Haynes?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All right. All in favor, please signify by raising your hand. saying aye. Thank you. We do have an agenda. Let me make a note of that.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. All right. Our next item would be the approval of the February 16th regular meeting minutes. Do we have any changes, corrections, or clarifications to those minutes?
I had a clarification or a correction.
Okay,
It is on page 19 of the agenda packet. It's the Episcopal Church parking change proposal. Both on page 19 and on page 20, we have a schematic of the existing rather than the existing and the proposed. And the motion is that the request for Episcopal Church on Main Street as presented. So we need to make as presented part of the record, particularly because it is town property that they will be doing this on. So it can't just be a top of mind rendering. It needs to be something that if we have approved it, it needs to be something that we actually approved. So we need the schematic or the whatever it is that we approve, whatever they presented, as opposed to just they can do what they want to with them.
what about if we said the schematic that was presented? According to the schematic. that was
Yeah, I
presented.
think whatever, I just, we need to, because it is town property and they're going to be doing stormwater stuff there and streetscape stuff there and all the rest of that. It just needs to be something that they don't just get carte blanche to do whatever they need to. It needs to be what they presented.
Right. You're right. There are two sketches of what it is now, but not one of what was proposed.
Exactly. So since that's not part of the record, we need to make that part of the record.
Okay. Gibby, can you include that in the record and change the wording to as presented by the schematic?
Oh, it says as presented,
Okay,
but that's what I mean. We don't have what was
okay,
presented.
we will
It's a
we will add
record.
that.
It's just that sketch twice.
Okay,
Right,
Not
it's
the-
the existing sketch twice as opposed to what was presented as the
Okay.
streetscape change.
we will include that sketch then in the official minutes. All right. Any other changes?
I move the agenda be approved as amended.
Okay, do I have a
I
second?
mean, sorry, the minutes be approved as
Okay.
amended.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. All right. The next item will be report, starting with the mayor's report. Let me start with something that, I've been really tracking in Western Carolina, and I hope that everybody's mindful of this very difficult situation. I got an email that Senator Tillis's office sent out this afternoon, and I looked at it and I said, oh boy, federal grants for towns and what we can apply for. And then I started reading the qualifications, and it was for distressed communities, which kind of said, wow, that's not really what we are right now. And then it started talking about communities that have had immediate and recent economic impact changes, and the grants were for critical infrastructure improvements in response to those kind of changes, and things like educational retraining for workers and everything. And I was sitting there saying, this isn't really applicable to Highlands, but for the town of Canton in Haywood County, with all that they're facing. And I read in the Smoky Mountain News today a long article called in addressing those challenges with losing the paper mill there. They were saying it's like a huge elephant and you just have to start taking one bite at a time. They're facing tremendous challenges with this loss of this major economic driver in that community. I just know that all of us are mindful of all the people that are working, the legislative people, Senator or Congressman Edwards, our legislative delegations, Mayor Smathers, everybody, and all the support groups that are trying to help make that transition. And I hope that we will all keep in mind what our neighbors are undergoing. A couple of other things that I will announce or respond to. One was that Sally and I went to see the youth theater last night do Madagascar Junior. And I sat in that beautiful new PAC Center and watched those wonderful young people do a great performance. And I said, you know, this is what community life is all about. So I wanted to really congratulate the youth theater, the PAC, and those young people and their teachers and their parents and everybody that made that just a delightful program. And they have other plans for doing more of those. Then also Commissioner Haynes and I were, and Commissioner Dotson, we were all at the celebration yesterday afternoon for the 30th anniversary of the Highlands Hospital. And Tom Neal kind of pointed out that we've had a long tradition of having a hospital here for over 70 years. And then, of course, in the blizzard of 93, that was when the hospital had to be relocated. Dr. Baumrucker gave some fascinating accounts of what happened, having to deliver babies in the storm and how they had to move. So that was a great event. And I wish the hospital all the success. And one of the things I pointed out was that when we were having the sale of the hospital, the initial proposal was to keep the hospital open for 5 years. I didn't go along with that, and a lot of people didn't. And in the final sale, the Attorney General said the hospital would stay open 10 years. It gave the hospital time. I think we've got great leadership with Tom Neal, and it's being reorganized. There's a resurgence with our hospital. And, you know, my hope is when we do the 50th anniversary, which won't be far away, we'll look back and say, why would we ever think that we were going to close this hospital or it would close? So I hope it'll be very successful and we all support it. And then finally, I will be resuming the community coffee with the mayor on Friday, 31st at 11 o'clock at the Hudson Library in the general meeting room. And County Commissioner Gary Shields, who has been very outspoken in his advocacy for the construction of the new high school, he will be joining us to share his ideas about the new high school and other issues with the county. And along with Commissioner Shields, County Manager Derek Rowland will be there to discuss any budget issues that anyone will have. So I hope that people will join us for that first community coffee. And that's all that I have. So I will now ask if any of the commissioners have any updates or anything that they would like to discuss.
Mr. Mayor, I thought the budget workshop was well done. I couldn't see all of the presentations, but they sent them to me.
Okay.
And I thought I was really happy that we're looking at our capital projects.
Okay.
I thought they did a very good job and should be commended.
Okay. Thank you.
I had one comment. We have paused the or postponed the Huff lawsuit going to the judge. I think we should go ahead and have our lawyers put it on the docket. Last time we wanted to put it on in October and it didn't get on until February. So we can pause it for 6 months. If we put it on the docket now, if something happens and we need to take it off, we can take it off. But that gives us go-aheads and gives us a time frame as to when these things will happen.
Okay.
I'm just speaking for myself, but pausing it for 6 months doesn't mean that we're pausing it forever. So let's go ahead and put a date on it and get our lawyers that are dealing with it to go ahead and submit it to be put on the court docket.
Well, let me respond by asking Josh, can you discuss that with the lawyers and get their opinion on how to proceed with that?
I think that's
It's probably easier to take it off than it is to get on.
Yeah. Okay.
Mayor, I got a couple things too.
Okay. Sure.
Just to update everybody, the scholarship golf tournament is set for October 23rd at Sky Valley. And also on April 13th, we're going to have our first meeting, Lester and I and some various members of the community to meet about the playground. And, you know, we had an anonymous donors come forward with money to enhance or build a new playground. And I've got some leads on some more potential funding for that. So you'll all be hearing more about that in the coming months.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you very much. Any other items from the commissioners? All right, hearing none, let's move over to the town manager report.
Town hall will be closed April 7th in observation of Good Friday. That's all I have.
Okay. I will note that I've noticed we're doing a lot of small sidewalk projects this past week of replacing certain sections around town, which was good. Okay. The next item is the consent agenda. Do we have any questions about the consent agenda that's in your packet? Have a motion to approve?
I move it be approved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. All right, item number 9, and that will be the Helm radio tower attachment lease. Josh Ward.
So as you know, we've been discussing this lease for some time. The gentleman, Jim Spencer, who brought this to the board's attention, has been going back and forth with our attorney, Jay Coward. They finally come up with an agreement for the lease, and you have it in your packet tonight. It is ready to approve at this point. Mr. Spencer agrees with the lease, and it's time to move forward with that. And if you remember, the board actually gave a go-ahead for the attachment to go ahead and be included on the pole, which it has, or on the tower, which it has done already.
Okay.
So
Is there any significant changes from what we had approved before?
no,
Okay.
No.
I didn't see any, but I'm not a lawyer to read. these
some
things.
minor tweaks that were
Okay.
worked out.
I move we approve the lease for the ham radio.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying
Wait.
aye. Any questions?
Have some comments.
Okay, go right ahead.
Here to it. As far as what they have sent back is concerned, where'd it go? But one thing that I wanted to bring up again, well, I'm not finding that thing. Got it. The point that their attorney makes about,
You mean the Helm radio?
oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, this is the Helm.
Ham radio. Yep, yeah. I
Okay.
was thinking, said radio, and that's the only thing stuck in my brain.
Okay.
You got a good excuse. It's okay.
Okay, any further discussion before I call the vote? On the Helm radio contract, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. Now, our next item, number 10, is the Grismo Radio Corporation Tower Attachment Lease. This has been going on now for a while. Josh and I spoke with Chuck Cooper today, and there's been some movement on some requests and changes. I don't think Chuck is here tonight, but if he does show up, we'll let him come and speak if he'd like to. But Josh, would you give us an overview of where we are with this?
So if you remember back in December, the board asked for the attorneys to get together and bring back to the finance committee some concerns that they may have. We have had a difficult time contacting their attorney. I reached out to Mr. Cooper a couple of different times to reach out to his attorney to have his attorney contact Mr. Coward. Mr. Coward had reached out to his attorney several times with no avail. So this is the lease that was put together back in December and was given to both Chuck and his attorney. This was put together by our legal expert in communications that we have. So we feel confident in it. I think today we received an email that I forwarded the board from Mr. Cooper's attorney stating that they had some issues with the amount of the lease. And
wanted to discuss that as well as the attachment, I think, to the top of the tower that had been discussed some time back. So that is where it's at this point. I think it's time that we move forward with this. I think we've been talking about this now for a year and a half. And, I feel like that, they've had plenty of time to get back with us with their concerns. And again, it just came in today, but that's what they had discussed. So.
Okay.
Any questions?
Let me address, and Amy and some others the relocation issue on the tower. We actually had a technology meeting where we talked with Matt and everyone. We had the Kimberly Horn company that did tests and so forth. And while there might be some disagreement, Kimberly Horn in their study said there's no conflict with the cell tower, with the Verizon and the radio tower. And we left it saying, if the radio folks, if Mr. Cooper thinks it's a problem, then he at his own expense can relocate. But we think that it's not interfering at this time. Is that not what we?
Our engineers said that,
Yes.
and I haven't seen any evidence
Okay.
contrary to that from anybody else.
I agree.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Cooper told me he had no objection about where his tower is located anymore, antenna.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a dead issue. But
Okay.
I think there's some back and forth about who wouldn't call who back. So
Well,
Well, you can look at the email chain
yeah.
and tell when
Yeah.
they had reached out to.
did this ever go to the finance committee? Didn't we put that in the finance committee to meet with him and talk about it?
Well, since it only came in today, it was difficult to get a finance committee meeting
Yeah. Right.
today. So until we had something to meet on, the finance committee did not meet.
I would just think it'd be nice to have a meeting and let him have his say and then put it to bed.
I
Well,
think it's.
I invited him here tonight.
Time to go ahead and do what we need to do. I don't know how much more leeway we can give them. We offered to have a meeting with them, and if you don't show up till, a few hours before the meeting where we're going to make a decision, I don't think that we have any obligation to do any more than we've done.
Commissioner Dotson, I know you have some comments. You've been looking at this afternoon. So,
I have. Well, back to get rid of the one issue that I thought just needed to go away, that they had some problems with. And we've talked about in previous meetings that we have the ability to cancel this at any time for any reason or no reason. And that to me is not a lease. It's not a contract. That's a handshake agreement at best. And I think that the verbiage in 21E under optional termination needs to go away.
okay.
And I have gotten some information this afternoon on the lease terms. As I think Josh has kind of put this in front of everybody at this point. In looking through this, WHLC has been for the past 13 years paying the same rate that they started out paying the first month of their lease, which is $529. And even though there was an escalation in the lease, it was not abided by. There's certainly plenty of verbiage in that existing lease, which would, I think, technically make the lease invalid or WHLC in default because the terms weren't abided by. My comment at this point is based on if the original terms had been adhered to, their rent, at least through 2019, when the the lease ended, would have been $564.15 a month. If we had continued that forward as the bottom line there on what we've gotten this evening, it would be $621 a month if we had protracted that lease out. The previous lease actually said, another point, that if there's a holdover, that the lease doubles. And so that rate would have been, since 2019, and actually would have been higher, would have been $1,128 plus a month. So I know we've gotten some input from our professional tower lease folks who say $750 a month. I'm thinking that we ought to look more along the lines of carrying forward what we did. If we would have been at $621 protracted forward from the original lease, I think we need to start somewhere a little closer to that.
Okay.
Maybe $650. I think we need to have an increase, but I don't think, I'm not suggesting that's whatever the board decides, but I think somewhere in that neighborhood certainly makes a little more sense than carrying it forward and then doing a massive jump.
Okay.
Go ahead.
What about also in the proposed contract, we had a 3% increase every year. I know Mr. Cooper has expressed concerns that he thinks that's is high. And I've looked at the inflation index and everything over these years. Sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's less. Would anyone entertain the motion of, instead of making it 3%, making it something like 1.5 or 2%?
Well, sometimes it's 8.
If we go with the Social Security, and that to me, and I think Josh will say, that's a formula that is so convoluted in slides that it's better to just have a fixed increase built in every year so everybody knows what needs to be paid.
Oh, I agree that that's a better way of doing it than
Yeah.
to do it annually.
I'd make that motion to 1.5% a year annual increase. And I agree with you. Social Security doesn't include gasoline, so.
Right. Well, I would suggest it be 2%, but
Whatever, 2 is fine with me.
Okay.
and starting at, what do you want to start at? 650?
Well, 2% 2% increase is only $19.50.
A year.
But that would be per month. Per year. I believe.
Would someone like to make a motion?
At 650.
650, starting at 650.
No, I was talking about the percentage increase.
Oh, no, I was talking about 2% starting at
650.
650.
Is that a motion?
Would you like, are you willing to make that motion, Commissioner Hay?
No,
No.
No.
You willing to withdraw your motion?
we were talking about a 2% increase.
Yeah,
Right. I was 1.5, and you said 2. That's fine, but I'm not gonna make the motion.
Okay.
oh, okay.
But we're gonna, let's do that, and then we gotta deal with 21E, right?
Well, I agree, 21E has no business being in there. I don't think that makes a difference.
No, negative contact.
I agree. And, you know, I know there's a lot of discussion in the county and community about contracts. And to me, and this board has had this policy, if you have a contract and you enter it, both parties in good faith, unless there's some serious defined breach of the contract, you honor the
Honor
contract.
contract.
You don't arbitrarily say, we don't want to continue. So I'm glad that Commissioner Dotson has pointed that out. We could just make them take this in section, starting with the 21E, if somebody wanted to make the motion, that we scratch that from the contract.
I'll make that motion that we eliminate 21E.
Okay,
Second.
and you've got a second. Any further discussion?
On the whole contract?
No,
21.
just 21.
21? No, no.
Okay,
All right.
all right. All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. That means that will not be in the contract. It has been eliminated. All right. Now, the next part will be the fee structure in the yearly increase. Do I have a motion on that issue?
I'll make a motion that the fee be set at $650
Okay,
Initial fee.
starting at,
initially.
starting at,
All right,
and
2%.
that's cheap. Yeah,
That is cheap,
that's
But-
cheap.
but that's okay.
And with the 2% increase
Yearly.
annually. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second that motion.
You got a second. And what, just to be clear, the motion will be that the rate will be starting at $650. And every year for the next 10 years, the duration of the contract, it'll be a 2% increase. All right,
We're just voting on the amendment
we're voting on that now.
and then we'll vote on the contract.
You're right.
Okay.
All in favor, please signify by raising your hand and saying aye.
Uh,
Opposed? Okay, one opposed. And then we'll take I'll entertain a motion to approve the contract as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
I'd like to say one thing before we go.
certainly, go right ahead.
There's been a huge misunderstanding that the Verizon cell service problems are caused by Mr. Cooper. And I think Josh did the right thing. What, 2 or 3 years ago, you and I told you I'd seen some problems with the tower. Y'all got them fixed. Nobody could have climbed that tower 2 years ago until really they did it. And everything's been repaired, but the Verizon problems were not caused by Mr. Cooper. That's just a bad rumor in town.
Okay. And my response to that is, I haven't been aware of that accusation. I've always thought that throughout Western Carolina, the complaint has been, they don't have enough, antenna to cover everything, but I hear what you say.
Yeah, one of my neighbors called me about it just the other day. He said, "This isn't fair." I said, "Well, that's a bad rumor." Okay, go ahead.
All right. Any other comment before I call? Yes, sir.
I'd like to make one more comment under number 10, D. That paragraph is actually in all caps for whatever reason. I think it ought to be caps and lowercase.
That's a technical.
I think there was that Ford emitting problem they
We'll-
were talking about.
We'll make sure that that's changed.
So it's not more emphasized.
No,
Okay, all right. So any other comments before I call for the vote to approve the contract? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you, 4-1, one opposed. All right, now let's move on to the Sunset Rock Estates preliminary plat approval. Michael Mathis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you will remember, we had this come up last month. There was a preliminary plat application requirement that I'd left off. But since then, I've talked to the surveyor and he put a statement on the plat which should satisfy that item 14 in the preliminary plat application requirements. So I can read back through the memo if need be, or if
He did the topo too.
yeah, I added some topographic maps from the Macon County GIS, and those are at 4-foot intervals.
Right.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item will be number 12, and that is the Greenway signage proposal. And good evening.
My name is Sonia Carpenter, and I am here on behalf of the Highlands Plateau Greenway. And for the
We had,
past,
excuse me, we had Jim, but he couldn't make it.
Jim
So-
could not make it,
Yeah.
so he sent me instead. So for the past couple of years, we've been working on some comprehensive signage upgrades for the trail. And the objective there is to make the trail a little bit easier to understand and to follow, and to give our hikers more confidence while they're on the trail. And as you're probably aware, the way that the Highlands Plateau Greenway works is that we have areas that are on forested areas or natural areas, but we also utilize city streets as a part of our greenway. So what I'm here today to talk to you about is proposing a few locations where we can install signage on city streets, on town streets. If you'll switch to the next one. So this is an example of our signage that we have been working with a designer to develop. It is a 6x6 post with a stainless steel cap. And we've identified 5 areas that were just on that map. I ran through them kind of quickly, but they are those natural areas within the community where we're trying to direct our hikers to. And so on our signage, we have these trail areas listed at the top, along with the logo of the Greenway and the logo of the partner, and then stainless steel discs that point the directions. So what we really like about this signage is not only that it's attractive, but it's also very high quality. So it will last for a long time. And it's easy to interpret for our hikers. And it's flexible, so we can add or edit some of the discs that are on there as necessary. We have already scouted out some of these locations with Josh and with Lamar. And the good news is though they are embedded into the ground with concrete, they are only go down about 2 feet. So there is no conflict with buried utilities. So I am very happy to run through all of these locations with you, but there are quite a few of them. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to review them, but we have pictures and we can go through them. But I know your time is valuable, so we could truncate this if you'd like.
Can I ask you a question, Sonia?
Absolutely.
I think John, Mr. Ward talked about a QR code on some of them.
Yes.
Will you have QR codes
Yes.
also on
Yes.
certain ones?
Yes, we'd like to put QR codes on each of the signposts. And what that will do would be to pull up the map so that it would give the individual a sense of where they are on the large scheme of the town, really.
Okay, well, let me just say this. I used to be on the Greenway board and did the work trips and did this for many years. I've always thought that the weakness was the directions and
The
the signage.
Yeah.
And I think this goes a long way to addressing that and making it where people can really negotiate the Greenway.
Great, thank you. Yeah, it hasn't been an easy project to work on, but we're really proud that we've got this going. Yes, Amy?
How tall are they?
They are
I think it's 4 foot out.
4 foot. Yeah, Eric did the installation of most of the ones that are already on the trails.
They're 15.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, I saw all your pictures, but that post is not to scale. It's that 6x6 is a significant.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a good size.
Good
post.
size
They're
post.
actually, honestly.
It's the bollard size thing.
Well, they're actually only about 5 by 5. The press treaty that we're using is called 6x6, but the nominal is actually only
5.5.
5.5.
It's only 5.
Oh, it's only 5?
5.
Well, I figured 5.5 is.
No, well,
6,
you would think
but
so.
yeah.
What we're using is a hollow core PT post. It's hollowed in, but the nominal is only 5 inches.
Okay, because
So-
what you have now is 4. Those little wavy fiberglass
Oh, yeah.
things.
those-
If that,
they're
the
like
Carson-ite
2 they're like
signs,
2.5,
yes.
3.
And then
No, no, I measured them
Oh,
this
are they?
afternoon. They're
Okay.
4.
they're 4 foot tall.
No, no, they're
They're
4 foot wide.
4
4 inches wide.
4 inches wide. Yeah,
Okay.
4 inches wide. Sorry, 4 inches wide.
That's okay.
I was just saying, because your pictures look great, but if you're talking about a standard 6x6,
Yeah.
that's
No,
not.
Not
It's
quite to
a
scale.
totally different
We're
scale.
buying it as a 6x6, but it's actually.
It shrinks
the
down to
actual
5 by 5.
Post that we're using actually is only 5
5.
inches. Yeah.
Yeah, and we selected that side because with the discs that are on there, you really need to have a post that's pretty good size, if you're going to be able to see the arrows with the.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I'm just saying visually,
Yeah, 6
it
and 6,
looks
yeah.
different than that.
Understood.
The other thing is are they numbered?
So the numbers that you see on here correspond to our internal numbers that we have. So the actual signs that would be on town streets, there's only about 28 of those posts, but we have many, many more that are. in
Well,
these
the reason I
posts.
ask is in your QR code, if you have a numbered map,
Uh-huh.
then it basically says you are here.
Right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
And people don't know which am I at? If they don't read maps, they don't read maps.
So you're suggesting, I know, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
We're aware. So you're recommending that we put a number actually on the signpost. so
And
that
on the
they-
map.
And you're right, which would
So
correspond
that
to
you
the
can
map.
say,
on the
oh,
QR
I'm
code.
at 46. Now, where is that on the map? How do I, and maybe even sequentially so that they can,
Sequentially becomes a little problematic because we do
Go in
have this,
different
the
directions.
hub at Founder's Park.
Yeah.
And then it radiates like the spokes of a wheel to these 5 different areas.
well,
So
could be
it's not linear.
numbers and letters. An area is a letter. a number.
We're gonna.
I don't know. I'm
Would you
just
like
saying.
to join the
No, no, no,
Greenway?
no. I'm just saying,
What
it-
is that?
I mean, I saw your map and I said, oh yeah, the QR code works because
Yeah.
I can figure out where I am by the number on the post, but are you
But that's not
numbering the
necessarily,
post?
yeah, yeah.
If you number the post, I can figure it out.
Okay, I think that's a great suggestion.
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Second,
Any further
As long
discussion?
as Josh and Lamar are okay with whatever we do in the town.
Yeah, the concern was utilities and potentially, digging into those, but the locations that we looked at with Jim, I think Lamar was confident that we were okay with the utilities and they're going to be hand dug is what they were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and before
We
we
met.
get any of them, like I said, there might be a variation of a few feet and stuff, but if there's.
Yeah,
any
yeah,
steps, it
No,
will be-
I'm just saying, and they're, what I was saying is
Yeah.
they're big, but so
Yeah.
the scale is different, but they're big enough that people will notice them and
Right.
help you actually navigate.
Yeah.
Okay.
When the little wavy things don't typically help anybody navigate.
Okay. All
No, they
right.
blend right in, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah.
So several of these locations will be replacing the Carsonite posts.
Okay,
Second.
we do have a second. And we had a motion. Hearing no further discussion. All in, okay, go ahead.
I have further discussion. I actually counted 34 of these that are going to be on town
streets.
property,
Okay.
town right of way, that sort of thing. Tell me about partner logo.
So several of our locations, we have partners. For example, some of our trails are on Highlands Cashers Land Trust property, like the Kelsey Trail or Satula or Sunset Rock. And then others are on the biological station property. So we would put their logo on there as well.
Okay, so this is not a
It's not
retail
it's not
advertising
advertising.
space.
Oh, no,
No.
not at all. This
Good.
just represents the property owner. Where
So the
post will be
town could have the
located.
town logo on it.
Well, the town logo is almost exactly the same as the Greenway logo.
No, it
So, I
is,
mean,
isn't
we
it?
could discuss that if you
No,
like,
no, no,
but
I'm
it's
just
kind of
saying.
repetitive. Yeah.
So people aren't buying sponsorships.
No
No.
sponsorships.
That's what I want to make sure.
No.
Okay.
And actually that raises a really important question or a point as well, is that there is no cost to the town for the installation of these signs. We
all
are footing the bill through Greenway donations, and we also receive some grant funding from the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, I guess with that being cleared up, my only concern is, I think 34 signposts are a lot of, we've got a lot of clutter on the streets already. And I really think that these, and I know these are actually going to take the place of some that you already have in place.
Correct.
I didn't go through and count the pictures that both of them were side by side. But, I just have a continuing concern of clutter. And I'm not calling it clutter. I'm just saying we've got a lot of
I
things
understand.
as you drive down the street or walk down the sidewalk that, I wish there's some way that could be considered that these would be inset in the sidewalk. or something that just doesn't stick up
Mhm.
to be, have to be
Yeah,
noticed.
We went through all that, just trying to, it's gotta be visible and noticeable for people walking and stuff, so it's just kind of a.
Call for the vote, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah,
Well,
it's,
let me just
it's
respond
tough.
too. I know years ago, we were concerned about actually face signs. You don't see that with this. This is a post, but it's kind of, compact.
Yeah, it's
in
got
my
a slim
opinion.
profile.
Okay.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Hearing none, let me call for the vote. All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, before you leave, may I make one comment?
Sure.
The town has supported the Greenway, and I think it's been wonderful. And I'm going to say something. The county has supported the Franklin Greenway. So I would encourage you in the future, if you had a wonderful project, to invite the Macon County Board to support what we're doing up here on the plateau too, because we all pay taxes to
That's a
Macon
very
County.
good suggestion.
Okay.
We need to give them more suggestions for ways that they could support our community.
I
don't
think
we?
they would welcome it.
I agree.
Okay,
All right.
thank you so
very
much,
for your
Sonia.
time.
Mr. Mayor, the county did want to build a trail from Zachary Park to the hospital. That was something they talked, Mr. Tate talked about.
Well, that'd be
In the
good,
county.
It's crossing the street, isn't it?
Yep.
but I'd like to see it. We extend the Greenway here in Highlands too. All right, good. All right, our next item will be the CLE proposal for temporary use of the Playhouse building. Mr. Lee Garrett for CLE and the creator of Porch Fest, which has been so successful.
Mr. Mayor and members of the commissioners, I'm Lee Garrett. I'm the president of the Center for Life Enrichment. I practiced law for 40 years, and I'm delighted not to be in a suit and talking to people with black robes on tonight. I'll give you a quick idea of what this is about, and then I'm going to deliver some good news, I hope. As you may know, December the 24th, there were major pipe leaks and ruptures at the Peggy Crosby Center. Our entire lecture hall was inundated with water, and our classroom and lecture hall were ripped up because of sewer repair. We were desperate to find places where we could hold over 100 presentations that we're going to have this year. We have 2 Pulitzer Prize winners coming. We have Don McGahn, who was President Trump's White House counsel. We, I think, have located the, not the Peggy Crosby, but the PAC for June, and hopefully, if we need it, the Playhouse. Let me give you the good news. We're much further along in the restoration of Peggy Crosby than we thought we would be. There should be new carpet going in. We have ordered 80 new chairs. We have ordered all the new electronic equipment that we will need to have our presentations. So I would hope that perhaps this could be held to another vote. I think I can be back with you in 30 to 45 days and give you an update. I would have done this sooner, but just this week, we learned more about where the renovations were in the process. So I think we may be set for our season where we have been occupying the Playhouse for a number of years. And I think this will be over 30 years of bringing the programs that we do to Highlands. Happy to answer any questions.
Lee, rather than you coming back, my suggestion may be that we do a kind of a default motion that in the event that you cannot use the Peggy Crosby Center, if it doesn't meet your schedule requirements, that you could use the Playhouse as a temporary.
And that would be starting in
venue.
July, because we know that the current residents of the Playhouse are not going to be moving until sometime in June. Obviously, if we needed to use the Playhouse, we would provide insurance and we may have to do some additional lighting.
Okay.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second,
Do we have any questions or discussions?
that would be during 2023.
Correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Just for that period
That's correct.
till September.
If they need it.
If they need
If they need it.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion? We do have a
Yeah,
motion.
and a
Okay,
second.
and a second. Okay, hearing no further discussion, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay, our next item will be the HM Squared revocable license agreement for 670 North 4th Street. And I think Matt Mason will be making the presentation on behalf of Tate Landscaping.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the board. You have the HM Squared in your packet, I believe.
Right.
HM Squared is a business / retail space at 670 North 4th Street. The idea behind what the proposal is it's basically a stone walkway that leads down to a trash enclosure that's going to be in the right of way of 4th Street. The basic idea behind that is the rental units that are on top of the building need a place to dispose of their trash, and that's design wise the best place that we came up with. The reason we proposed it to be on 4th Street is the parking lot. If you don't know, that parking lot is very tight and the trash trucks can't turn around and can't maneuver their way back. They would actually have to back out into the street. So the idea behind it is to re-beautify that, do a small boulder retaining wall and replant it in some hybrid rhodos and some spirea and stuff like that.
So it's just the wall that would be in the right of way?
The wall,
And
part
the
of the
trash.
and the trash receptacle and part of the stone stairs.
So the sign's not in the right of way?
No,
Is the trash receptacle going to be, you're showing it enclosed here. Is it going to be locked, or is this thing going to be, as people walk by, accessible to the public? I mean, somebody has something they just want to toss in there. Is that going to be a possibility, or is this going to be locked, or?
it could be a possibility.
We don't want it to be a
I
possibility.
don't.
Then
yeah.
no, then we can lock it
Yeah,
up.
I'd rather,
How's that?
Let me just give you a clue where your answer should be if we don't want it to be.
That's fine.
yeah, yeah. All of our trash is supposed to be in bags, especially residential trash. And I'm sure if this is specifically for this building and accessible to the public, then you'll get a lot that's not in bags.
Right.
So my comment would be, if there's some way that you can make this either accessible from the back.
Or put a roof on it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever you can, so it's specific to this building.
Okay.
But also easily accessible to the crew.
And I hate to be negative, but just somebody picking up a little something on the sidewalk and put it in there. No, there'll be some people that would be so bold as to take their own personal bag and throw it in there to avoid having to properly dispose of it. So it's a good suggestion.
I move we approve the revocable license agreement for the wall and the garbage receptacle.
And we've got a second. Any further questions or discussions? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, number 15, the Highway 106 sidewalk easement survey quote. Lamar Nix, we discussed this at the town retreat, and Lamar, if you'll come and give us an update, help us understand where we're going.
Well, as we discussed at the retreat with the HOA of Shelby Place, their desire was to physically see the exact location of the proposed sidewalk within their property. And the only way to do that is to have it surveyed and marked. So I approached Stillwell Engineering about doing that. And could he possibly get with a surveyor to give us a rigid proposal? So we know what cost expenses are involved to do that if you choose to do it. And he did with sprinkle surveying. And the proposal is for $5,500 to do that.
Okay. That's less than what we might have thought it would be.
It is.
Move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any other questions for Lamar or discussion?
Lamar, that still does not guarantee us or lead us to believe that Shelby Place Homeowners Association would be agreeable to this project. Is that
That's correct. They could say, well, we don't like
So
it.
we can spend this $5,000 and they say, thanks, but no thanks.
That's correct.
And we do have, I think, a representative tonight who might want to address that. I will say this, my conversation with Rick Siegel has been that there is a positive reception to this. Mhm. Okay,
80% positive. Isn't it gonna have to be 80%? And it's 80% positive? Oh, okay.
And the people that did apply, we had well over 8% of positive.
Can you give us an idea how much response you did get?
Not really. I sit on the board, but I was not involved in that aspect. I'm past president, so.
Well, to me anyway, it's $5,000 that we need to spend if we're gonna move this project forward at all.
Right.
If we're not, if we're just gonna, oh,
Needs to
yeah.
be done.
So if you don't want to do it, then we don't spend 5,000. If it's, but Shelby Place isn't going to give us anything unless we give them a defined route
okay,
through their property.
all right.
So I think 5,000 is a minimal investment to get something is needed in that area.
And it is 5,500.
Oh, sorry, 5,500.
Okay.
If you're just making a motion.
All right, very good. Thank you. And we have a motion on the floor in a second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by raising your hand, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lamar. Okay, number 16 will be the ABC store relocation proposal at our town retreat. We had Steve Mater and Kevin Vinson present a new model, and we asked to see a architectural rendering. I do believe they have it here tonight. So Steve and Kevin.
We do. Bear with me, I'll put some notes together. As the mayor said last Thursday, we addressed with several items of the anticipated relocation. We discussed about the reduction in the renovation cost between $400,000 and $600,000 approximately. There's the ability to fund this revised cost with current reserve funds and anticipated current year net income by the time the renovation is completed. Therefore, we believe that we will not be required to acquire any financing. However, any financing that might be required would be of a short-term nature and would be funded strictly by the ABC board. After the cost of the renovation is completed, we forecast to be able to generate $400,000 plus annually to the town funds for whatever projects the town determines is needed. Another issue, the relocation also results in better, safer product receiving and distribution, resulting in better staff utilization, safety, and inventory organization. We anticipate the increase of parking spaces for the shopping public without having to compete with parking spaces, including the 2 handicap parking spaces. The relocation will satisfy the deed restrictions of said property. We have a bid for the contract from a contractor for the project who is awaiting approval to move forward. We have a revised previously presented renderings at the request of the meeting last Thursday. It should be noted that we also have unanimous support of our ABC board members. And finally, I should note that we have substantial comments, all positive, from customers, visitors, residents, and the citizens of Highlands for the proposed relocation, thanks in part to the coverage that we've been provided by the press. At this time, I'd like to address any further items that may be discussed so that we take the next step forward and hopefully begin the above renovation. But first, we have a revised artist rendering here at your request. So I'll show that and address any questions. Kevin or myself will address any questions.
Okay.
Steve, you're showing 11 parking places on that rendering. Is that to scale or is that?
Yeah, it's pretty close. There are, I believe there's, according to the Gearhart, there's 10. Robbie, can you back that up roughly?
I'd like to, as we had talked about the parking places, I happened to go over to the ABC store yesterday at noon. There is no parking at noon. Now, if we had one of our customers to come to try to pick up the supply, it'd be virtually impossible to deliver. So that's why we intend to preserve these two, this area right here with this door to be able to back into the location and load the truck.
We very rarely have 10 people in the store at one time anyway. If you do, it might be a combination of a car with 4 individuals in it or an SUV with 4 individuals in it. But I could probably, even in the busiest times in July, count on one hand how many times we would get even close to 10 people in the store at one time. You have to realize with the ABC store, it's kind of like a military maneuver. People come in, they do their mission and they get out. 3 to 5 minutes.
They gotta go drink. Pop that box.
We do get the occasional browsers that like to go in and read this and read that and look at this and ask questions. Even then, tops 15, 20 minutes.
Okay.
So
It's not like retail.
no, it's not like retail where you're trying to buy a shirt or a woman trying to buy a pair of shoes. It's just not gonna happen. Most people.
Bad analogy.
Yeah. Trust me, I just came back from a trip with the wife and she was looking at shoes, so that's.
He speaks from experience.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
But no, in terms of, having that many people, having this thing entirely full at one time, probably not gonna happen.
How big is your showroom, which would be open to the public?
It will be somewhere around 2,300 square feet, which is about what it is. It's a couple hundred square feet bigger than what it is
Which
now.
10 would cover, right?
9.2.
Yeah, 10 would cover.
But the,
In our code.
the biggest advantage to this will be the extra warehouse space. And it's going to be a lot easier to utilize. There's not I don't believe there's a staffing issue a staff that creates as much work as the 4 full-time that we have and the 2 part-time that we have during any given year. And this would make having a short staff much more efficient.
One of the things that I alluded to and what Kevin was talking about, I've had a chance to go over there and see what it is. A lot of people just think, okay, you come in and buy your product and leave. And that's true for the retail people. But when you look at the mixed beverage customer, first of all, we have to take the staff has to receive the goods. Then they have to take the order. Then they have to pick the order. Then they have to put stamps on it. Then they have to package it back again. And then when the customer comes, they have to deliver it. So instead of you just walking in and getting a fifth and leaving, that's why I say it's extensive, that, and for better utilization, as far as inventory location and stacking it, that's the key to the whole thing. So that people don't have to bend over 4 or 5 times, people pick up something. If it's on inventory racks, as Kevin alluded to, it's going to be much safer. There's been some people.
We've had a shoulder issue, we've had a back issue in the last probably couple of years, nothing that required workers' comp.
Right.
But it definitely required a lighter duty.
We've got some other slides if we want to show that. It's all pretty much going to be the same thing, but just.
I was under the impression that the 4 main bays there were going to be fixed. Is that not true when you say this?
These 2 will be fixed. These two, and we may only use one of those as a roll-up.
Is that not going to be a security? I mean, that's your problem, but
No, I mean, we have a garage door right now that you flip the light off in the middle of the day in the back and you can see light all the way around. If there was going to be a security issue, it would be back there where nobody ever is. I mean, at least this is a busy street and it's on the front of a busy street.
I don't think I would have said that.
yeah, sure, until tonight.
I would add, it's closer to the police department.
Josh, do you have any comments on the use of the building?
No, I don't. I think it's a good use for the building.
Okay.
The ABC store does need a permanent house, and I think this would work well.
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion to draft a lease between the town and the ABC board.
And approve them using this facility.
Correct.
Okay.
So our leases take a long time to draft. So I think you want them to go ahead and we'll work out the lease.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back and make the motion that we give them approval to begin
Yeah, I'm
conversion of this building to the ABC
Right. We're
facility. And
we
we
want
will
the ABC
have a
store to
lease.
go there.
Yeah.
at another.
I just didn't know if we wanted to approve a lease or they wanted, so they could review the lease and come to some agreeable terms before committing to the move, but I think we can get there. I don't see that being an
Well,
issue.
to me, I think
You're gonna get.
the money, whether we get it in rent or we get it not in
Yeah.
rent is.
Yeah.
It's all
Correct.
come to the same place. So, yeah, I don't think there should be a problem getting a lease. It's town building, right?
So
So-
I'm in my lease, my motion to approve the ABC store relocation to the old fire department.
Okay,
I'll second that.
you second it. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I know this works to the financial benefit of the town, but I really think we need to do a master plan for that entire 5-acre tract before we do anything.
Okay. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye and raising your hand. And opposed. We've got 4 approval, 1 opposed. The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mhm. Okay. Our next item will be financial matters, budget amendment. And Josh, how do we, I don't see a name by this.
Well, we have a number of budget amendments that were discussed at the retreat. And the board wanted to see those tonight at the meeting in order to discuss and potentially approve those. Start.
Would you please come up to the podium? Thank you, Rebecca.
I just also wanted to add one more, that $5,500 that you just voted on. If we could take that from the zoning certificates, that's extra income that we've made this year, and then apply it to street, capital outlay, other improvements. And then if we could go ahead and add that to that and approve that tonight too.
Take it from where? I'm sorry, Rebecca.
We've got an excess in zoning certificates.
Okay.
And then if we could just budget it from that and move it into the
For
street
survey.
outlay
For the survey.
for the survey, $5,500.
All right, we will put that on the list.
So that's the only thing that's new, Josh?
Yes.
Well, other than the lineman.
Yes, we had discussed each of these, the 6th, the one she added. Poplar Street. Rebecca, if you want to go through, I think Poplar Street, we did have some budgeted for that. The 125, we needed to add the remainder of that and actually put it in another line.
Yes, when we found out that we had gotten the Poplar Street grant back in July, we had already budgeted the $125.20 that we had estimated that it might cost, but that cost has went up once we did the bidding. So we need to take that 125,200 out of capital outlay in the water department and move it to the capital projects fund. So you'll see that at the top, and then the extra, I don't have it in front of me, 45,000. We need to do a fund balance appropriation for and send it to the same place.
I move we approve the budget amendment for the water fund and the Poplar Street water improvements.
Okay,
Second that.
second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you. All right, and then the electrical study would be the next one.
So the electrical study was $50,000 Lamar proposed. And you have that in front of you here coming from capital outlay in the electric department.
And that's new from this, in addition to this budget, but it was because they could start right away. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So we wanted to go ahead and get that
Yes.
on the, I move we approve the $50,000 budget amendment for the electric study.
Second.
Second, okay. Any further questions? All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. And then the sewer force main study, which was generated from our recent 64 problem, Josh.
Right, so we had the problem at 64 that Lamar has updated the board on, and he and I talked about it, and I think originally we had talked about leaving it to the new budget year, but I think we need to get on that study as quickly as possible. So that's the reason it's on here now. It's 145,000.
And that's from Stillwell? Stillwell?
WK
Dixon. Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Any other questions? All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. All right, the next one will be the surveying and geotechnical for Second Street drainage improvements.
This quote was from a surveyor in town to do the surveying that's needed there at Second Street, as well as S&ME to do the core samples. Total is $10,000. And that's to go ahead and get that started in order for.
So this isn't any engineering of the.
No, this is just the beginning.
Just
That way we don't have a delay when this item comes up on our new budget. They can start immediately with it. Kind of gives a head start.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand, saying aye. Thank you very much. The additional lineman salary and benefits. Josh?
Correct. We wanted to go ahead and hire 2 linemen. And you have here, I think, benefits and salaries for Rebecca. How many months was this proposed for the?
3, I believe.
Because it's 3 to the end of the fiscal year.
Yeah, so if they go ahead and hire them, they can start immediately. With the fire department, we went ahead and did 3 too, but I only think they're going to use 2 because I think they're going to take a little while to do their interviewing and all that sort of thing.
2 months, you mean?
Yeah, 2 months instead of 3.
So I move we approve the budget amendment for the electric fund to hire new linemen.
Second.
Second. All. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand, saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And then the fire department, full-time fireman salaries and benefits.
And again, this is the hiring of 6 full-time firemen. This will be for the last 2 months of the fiscal year. And this will be budgeted in the new budget year as well. This will get us going on the hiring of that. And like Rebecca said, it may take a little while to get going on it. So.
And this comes out of the fire department fire tax budget,
Correct.
Yes.
and they have that money.
Yes, they have it in fund balance.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you. And now we will go to the added amendment, the budget amendment, taking money from zoning for funding the survey for the 106 sidewalk. That would be $5,500 to allocate for a survey.
So moved.
Second.
Second, any other questions? All in favor, please raise your hand, signify by saying aye. Thank you very much. And then Commissioner Hayne had requested that we talked about and discussed the water plant study for moving forward with the replacement of the pre-clarifier tank. Mr. Hayne, would you like to?
Well, we got a 2019 study. COVID came in 2020. We didn't really get to talk about it. And then I think the first one was called the asset management plan, Josh. And then 2021, we did a deep dive into the master plan. And, you know, it used to be I would allow 3 years to do a project, but now I'm not sure how long it takes. And I think it'd be wise. Lamar said it costs $205,000 to start the design. We really don't know what we're going to do. We really don't know what it's going to cost. We've got a really good idea. I'd like to go ahead and start the design. And one of the most important things I learned at Clemson there was anything can happen and at any time and often does. And we learned that twice this year already, haven't we? You know, with the force main and the water.
Correct.
Okay.
So where would this money come from, Josh?
Rebecca, fund balance. It'd have to come from the fund.
Rebecca?
I'll be honest, I don't recommend it this year. We've already upped the fund balance 2 or 3 times for all these things we talked about at the retreat. And Lamar and I talked, and I really think it can wait a year for the study and then the next year do the project if you want. Unless he really wants it. I mean, it's gonna have to come out of fund balance.
Fund balance of the water fund?
Yes, that there's no cash in that fund balance. So eventually, if we keep using that fund balance, it's gonna come out of the electric reserve, which we've already every year been being taught because we're transferring that much money.
Yeah, but we need to do it before they stop.
We got,
Yes, well, and I'm not saying that either, but I still think they're not gonna stop us for a couple more years.
we've got $15 million, right? Total fund balance, $15 million was in the audit.
It's in the audit, but it's not cash.
I mean, that's a fund
There's
balance.
no cash anywhere in the bank with that much money.
Audited fund balance.
6,000 in the electric reserve, there's 5,000 in the general fund reserve.
Okay, would you speak into the microphone, please?
Sorry.
There's 6,000 in the electric fund reserve and there's 5,000 or million, sorry. 6 million in the, no, 6 million in the electric fund reserve and 5 million in the general fund reserve. So it's up to you. I mean, it's up the board's decision.
My question for you, as we allocate money for this coming budget, which would start July 1st.
Yes.
Were we planning, and that's what my understanding was, that we were going to put that in
Yes.
the budget starting July 1st.
Yes.
Right.
But Commissioner Hayne is asking that we be more, if you will, proactive and put it in the as a budget amendment now to start it now.
Budget years.
Lamar, what's your opinion?
I was just asking that too.
Would it be better to have a 2 or 3 month start or?
It's been my opinion all along that it really doesn't have much bearing whether we start by signing the contract with WK Dixon on Friday or Monday or July the 1st. We don't have a catastrophic situation with this anyway. Waiting 3 more months is not, in my opinion, going to hurt the town. If you choose to do it tonight, that's all good too. It just gives a head start and you can get the information, because this what this does, this $205,000 begins the process of doing the design work and getting a better handle on the budget of what it's going to take to do the construction. You can get your information 3 months faster to make the decision, just like I spoke at the retreat. When we do the retreat next year and I give that presentation, you'll get a little bit quicker idea of what we're going to do and what it's going to cost.
And how long does this, like Amy asked, how long does it take?
To do the design
To do
and
this.
permitting and so forth?
To do the $200,000.
Well, it takes several months. I mean, we planned dealing with WK Dixon. We knew if we started on July the 1st, we felt like we could do the design and permitting and get it in time for
Next budget.
the next
retreat.
presentation, retreat. Given an additional 2 to 3 months, that's fine if you want to do it.
I don't think it gains us anything, though, does
That's what it gains you, 2 or 3 months, but I think
I mean,
I
we're
think
still
we're
not gonna
gonna,
make the decision until next month, next
that's,
year's
that's correct.
budget. A year
That's,
from now,
that's
so.
correct. That's all you gain is the information a little quicker. Or buffer their decision-making, budgeting, designing process.
I move that we take 205,000 out of the fund balance, general reserve fund balance to start design of the improvements to the water plant. And money could fall out of the sky, to do the construction.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Commissioner, we don't have a second, but I believe if you'd like to, not proceed, or we can call a vote.
We don't have a second. We don't have a second. So.
I understand that, but technically, if we
I'll withdraw my motion, but
okay.
I've seen things happen before, and I think it's better to be ahead. Here we go.
Okay. All right, then with that, we've had that discussion and we've come to this decision to wait until including it in the next fiscal year budget starting July 1st. And I know Lamar can be making, plans and making contacts to get that underway as soon as funds are appropriated in this new budget. All right, our next item will be item 18, resolution accepting AARP funds for Gibson Street Water and Sewer. Josh, who will
American
present
Rescue Plan.
excuse me. Did I say ARRP? I'm a member of that. ARPA.
That's why he said it that way.
I'm moving fast. Okay, American Rescue Plan. Okay, I'm sorry.
So, so as we talked about at the retreat, in this year's state budget, they allocated $220,000 for the town of Highlands for a sewer and water project, which we're going to use on Gibson Street. We've already been approved for that from the state. So we had to have you guys adopt a resolution to accept the funds. And that's what this is. It's in front of you tonight.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Any other questions of Josh? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by raising your hand and signify by saying aye. Thank you. We have a unanimous vote on that. Very well.
Mr. Mayor, before we go to the item number 19, I would like to say that our clerk, Gibby Shaheen, has brought something to my attention that I had forgotten on the lease, on both leases. Actually, there is a requirement for a 30-day public notice.
Okay.
So that will have to be done first before the board actually approves that. So I guess what needs to happen is the motion probably needs to be amended to go to public notice before the board can formally adopt that.
There's no public hearing, just a
Public notice
just public.
has to be advertised.
We can make a
30
motion.
days.
Someone can make a motion to have a public.
And that needs to be done for both leases, the ham radio and the Charisma Radio Corporation.
All right. Do we have a motion?
You want a motion or is that just the procedure?
That'd be standard procedure.
Well, we can move forward with the procedure.
Just do
Be fine.
the procedure.
Okay. All right.
And I think that was added in 2015 as a way to let the public know what public property were being leased and what for.
Okay. The other thing is we will be looking very soon at the chamber lease, which would have to go through the same procedure.
Correct.
And the
Okay.
fire department, ABC board lease?
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Does that clarify that?
Yes.
Okay, very good. The next item would be then number 19, closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statutes 143-318 11A6 personnel exception, and that would be the town attorney search. Do I have a motion that would go into closed session?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. We are now in closed session.